Welcome to the Harbour Tech Academy, and today we are going to have a look at effective communication methods and how we can communicate in different ways. This is such an exciting video, and let's get into it. So today we're going to have a look at the communication cycle. We're going to learn about verbal and non-verbal communication and what constitutes good and bad. And we're also going to have a closer look at written communication. So let's get into it. Let's first define communication. The sharing of information, knowledge, understanding, and the thoughts of others. And just think society would not have moved forward so quickly if we were not able to communicate. To demonstrate the communication circle, we're going to use two workers. We've got hospitality worker A and a hospitality worker. So A is Bob, and he's actually going to talk to Cheryl over here. Now the communication cycle I'm showing you here, it happens millions of times in the day as we think and actually communicate back and forth, both verbally and with written communication. So we'll start off step one. Bob thinks about what he's going to say. He then encodes in his brain and he actually transmits that message verbally over to Cheryl. Now she actually hears that message and her brain decodes that message. Then she thinks about what she's going to say and actually sends the message back to Bob. Now the key thing to keep in mind is we do have barriers of communication or to communication, and we're going to talk at much more depth, but sometimes people don't listen or they have something else on their mind. So this cycle happens over and over. Just in case you missed me, I'm back. So let's look at the different types of communication. First of all, we've spoken about the communication cycle and verbal, very important skill for hospitality. Then we're going to talk about non-verbal skills. These are the body language. Have you ever had that feeling when someone said something to you but you felt that they weren't genuine or they were telling you a lie? It's actually your body language that you are actually picking up. Verbal is only about 15 to 20% of the overall communication cycle, which is very, very interesting. And the final one there is written communication. It could be digital, it could be a note. There's a whole range of different things, and we will look at that in more detail later. Every time we speak, there are three elements of communication that are involved. One is the verbal element. This is what you actually say, the message, the words. The vocal element is how we say it, our tone, our pitch, and the visual element, which is what the receiver sees with the body language or the posture. If these three elements don't come together, then the communication is not effective. And as I mentioned, you felt that time when someone was telling a lie. So let's actually look at it. So pitch and inflection is really important. Have you a high pitch, a low pitch? It makes such a difference. The quality of your speech, you don't want it to sound too harsh, you don't want it to be nasally. And the words that you use, have you ever seen someone who was swearing every second word and didn't think that that was appropriate? The intensity and the rate, the loudness. I've met people who just go crazy and they go ba 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 ba, and they're so wanting to tell you everything. And a pause. Have a look at the best speeches in history of some of the leaders, and there's this pause, and it really makes a difference. Not too long, but these are the things that you need to have a look at. Non-verbal communication is really something that I've always been very intrigued with. Body language. You might be in an airport or somewhere and watching people and wondering what their story is behind it. So we've got a whole range of areas that we look at. The expression on your face, gestures, mannerisms, eye contact. But keep in mind that not everyone has strong eye contact in different cultures. Tell me you've never judged someone based on their physique or clothing. Posture and touch are all very important elements. So let's have a look over here. Having a look at, well, what is this lady feeling right now? what could this be? It could be despair, but you look just by the way that she's looking, and it communicates different things each time, which is quite amazing how much of non-verbal communication and how powerful it is. In the 21st century, written communication is incredibly important, and for hospitality. And here's some examples of how we actually use it in hospitality. Email, it doesn't matter where you go, email is one of those favorite communication methods. Restaurant reservations are generally done online now. Letters of appointment, reporting accidents, which is still done with written, but it's still that style of communication. Writing telephone notes, stock orders, menus, restaurants, depending on what part of hospitality, and a key job. You want a job? You'll need a resume these days, and people judge you based on your written communication before they've ever actually met you, and that's quite amazing. Wow, what an extravaganza. Communication is one of those things, it's a life skill. Learn to do it really well, and you will have a better life at work, relationships, the whole thing. So we looked at the communication cycle, and we looked at, just touched on some of those barriers to communication, but we're going to look at that a little bit closer. We looked at written communication, that non-verbal communication that's very important. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.